Hey guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to create 3 different CSS loading animations. We're going to be using pure CSS to create these, and I'm going to show you guys how to use them while waiting for some API data to load. So first we'll go ahead and we'll create the 3 dots loading animation, and then let me show you the other two. The second one we're going to use is the loading bar. And then next one, the last one we're going to create is a spin animation, which is fairly common. There you go. So we're going to go ahead and get started in Visual Studio Code. We're going to be using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I have my files created here, and let's get the HTML loaded. So I'm going to use emit abbreviation with live server, which is an extension. If you guys don't have it, you'll want to download it. So I'm going to open this with live server so you guys can follow along. Okay, so let's change the title to CSS loading animation. And let's create a main tag. In the main tag, we're going to create the section card. And we'll create a class called card. In the section, we'll have an h2 that'll say article title. And let's give this a class of article title. And let's create a p tag with a class of article content. Okay, so then let's link the CSS. We're going to create the card first, and then we'll come back and then create the loading animations. So here we'll link the CSS, and let's go ahead and link the JavaScript as well. Index.js. Okay, so onto the CSS. We have a class of card, and we're going to give this a background color of light gray, and we're going to give this a height of 300 pixels with a width of 400 pixels, and we'll give this a margin of auto, and let's give it some, we're going to give this a position of relative, which we'll need for later, for when we create our loading animations. So that should be it for, or let's give this some box shadow to make it look better. Okay, perfect. And let's go ahead and center the article title. So article title, text, and let's give it some padding as well. Let's do 0.67 em. Perfect. And let's do the same thing for the article content for when we actually load it in from the API. So we'll do padding 6.7 em. So that's it for the card. So let's come back and create the HTML for the loading animation. So first we'll create a div, which will be a container, which we'll give it a class of loading container. And inside the div, we're going to do the 3 dots animation. So we'll have 3 separate divs for each animation style. So we'll call this 3 dots animation. And here we're going to get, okay, so I'm going to be using emit abbreviation to create 3 divs. So we'll do div, give it a class of ball, and we'll do ×3 to create 3 divs for us. And we also need to create IDs for them, because we're going to be animating each dot differently. We're going to give it some delays. Okay. So now we can go to the CSS and create the dots. So I'll comment here saying 3 dots animation. And so first we want to create the ball, the dot. So we'll do background, color. We can just do that for now. We can just do black for now. And we can give it a height of 15 pixels and a width of 15 pixels. And we want to give the loading container so we're going to use Flexbox to display them horizontally. So we're going to do display flex, and by default the flex direction will be row. So for now we don't have to change anything there. Here we want to give this a margin of 10 pixels, and let's give this a border radius of 50%. Perfect. So now we want to center them and vertically center them horizontally and vertically. So the way we're going to do that is in the container, we're going to do justify content center, and we're going to give this a height of 100% and a width of 100%, and we're going to use position absolute here. And the last thing we're going to do is align content. We're going to do center. And let me see sorry, it was align items. We're going to align the items center. And so now we have the loading container centered. And now we can create the animation for the dots. So we're going to use keyframes. And let's call this fade in out. And you'll see why I called it that here. We're going to change the opacity of each of these dots. So we're going to start off real low, and then about third of the way, we're going to put it to full 1, and then back to low again. So here at 0%, we are going to do opacity of 0.2, and then let's do 25%. We'll give it an opacity of 1. And then at 100%, we're going to give it an opacity back to 0.2. So now we can give the animation to the IDs that we created. So ball 1, and I'll copy and paste that. Ball 2 and ball 3. So for ball 1, we're going to do animation. We're going to do fade in, out. And then we're going to do, let's do 1.4 seconds. And then we're going to want it linear. So we want it the same speed from beginning to start. And we want it infinite. And then the next thing we want to use is something called animation fill mode, which is we want to use both. So we want the animation to stay the same when it's going in the forwards and backwards. So we want to do the same thing for ball 1 and 2. But the only thing that's going to change is we're going to give it an animation delay. So we're going to give here animation delay of 0.4 seconds. And here we'll just double it. So we'll do 0.16. No, sorry, we'll do 8. Okay. So you guys see there that the 3 dots animation is working. And I think for a smoother flow, we can do something like that. Okay, so that's the 3 dots animation. Let's go ahead and create the loading bar animation. So I'm just going to comment that out, create another div here. So we'll do div with the class name of loading container again. And let's make a comment here saying this is the loading bar animation. Okay, so that's all we need to do on the HTML side. Let's come down here and let's do, let me see. Oh, actually we need to come back to the HTML and we need to create another div and we need to just give this a class called loading bar. Okay, so loading bar, we're going to give this a height of 15 pixels and a width of 200 pixels. Let's give this, so the background, we're going to give this a background of, we're going to use something called a repeating linear gradient. Okay, and as you guys saw in the code pen, we're going to want the stripes to be angled. Let me see if I can show you guys. So yeah, we're going to want the stripes angled, and I did an angle of 45 degrees. So so the first thing we're going to do is say negative 45 degrees is the first parameter we're going to give. And then the second parameter is what we want to give the color of the stripe. So for now, let's just do black. So we'll do 0, 0, 0. And then we want to tell it the width of the stripe. So we're going to do, let's do 8 pixels. And then the next thing we want to do is show the second color. So the alternating stripe. So we can just do white is fine. Yeah, EEE. No, not EE. We're using that as a background. Let's do F5. F5. And then we're going to give this 9 pixels. And we'll use the same color again to specify the width. The end width, so it's like the beginning and end. So we're going to do 18. And as you guys see it there, the loading bar, the bar itself exists now. We have a black and white stripe angled at negative 45 degrees. And now let's give this a border radius of 5 pixels. And let's give this a border itself so we can see it stand out. We'll just do black. Okay, and the next thing we want to do is give this a background size. So we're going to do 27 pixels. It's horizontal and vertical. So it's 27 pixels horizontal and vertical. And it kind of looks a little, so let's go down a little. There you go. Let's do 25 and 25. So that's it for the loading bar itself, the object. So now we're going to do the actual animation. So we're going to do keyframes, call it move right, and we're going to say at 0%, we're going to change the background position. So we want it at 0, 0, at 0%. At 100%, we want to change it. We want to move it to the right. So we're going to keep the 0 for the first parameter. The second one, we want to move it to the right 25 pixels. Okay, so let's add the animation to the loading bar class. So we can do animation, move right, and we say, let's do 1 second, linear, and infinite. And let's, oh, forgot the colon. Okay. Let's see, what did I forget something? Oh, spelled infinite wrong. Okay, there we go. And let's make it a little faster. Let's do 0.5. So that's the loading bar animation. Let's go on to the last one, which is the spin animation. So again, we'll create a different loading container. Let's give this a comment here so you guys can have it for yourself. So we'll do div loading container. And we'll do another div, call it spin circle. Okay, so that's it for the HTML. We'll come below here and we'll give this a comment of spin animation. Okay, so we give this a class of spin circle. And I'm going to show you guys how I went about creating the circle. So I'll show you guys how I started and then made it into a circle. So first we'll give it a height of, let's do 30 pixels. We can probably go bigger if need be. And let's do a background color of, let's go on HTML color codes, and I'll pick a random color from there, some kind of blue or something. Yeah, I got some. So it's going to be 2980B9. Okay, so we got the background color there. And let's make this a little bit bigger. Let's do 50 and 50. Just so you guys can see. The next, we want to give this a border. So the border we can just do, let's do 5 pixels solid. We can just do 0, 0, 0. Okay. And now we want to do a border top, but I'll do that after. So let me show you, let's do a border radius of 50%. So now what we're going to do is get rid of the background color and set a border top of 5 pixels solid, and we'll use the same color we did for the background. And let me see here what's okay, there we go. So border top, and now we can go on to the actual animation. So let's give the border something else actually. Let's do F9, F9, F9. Okay, and let's do keyframes, and let's call it spin. So at 0%, we want to rotate this 0 degrees. So we'll do transform, rotate 0 degrees. And then at 100%, we want to transform, and we want to rotate it 360 degrees. So we'll do 360 degrees, and let's add the animation. So we'll do animation, and we'll say spin. Let's do 1 second, and linear and infinite. So that's a spin animation right there. Let's make it a little faster. Okay, so now let's use a API to get some JSON data. So I'm using something called, I found something called Bacon Ipsum, and it's just a lorem ipsum generator. And I'll link the API URL in the mockup, in the description. Let me see here. Bacon Ipsum, let's do, JSON API. And I'll link this in the description. Okay, so we have the JavaScript here. So what we're going to do is we're going to say let URL equal to that. We're going to use the fetch API here. So we're going to use fetch API, fetch URL, that we're going to get returned a promise, and we're going to say response, arrow function, response.json. That's the format we wanted in. And we're going to get returned another promise, which is the data itself. So we're going to do data, and I'll just console.log it here. And let's do the catch error. So error console.log error. Okay, so now you guys should see the data. So we get an array with some random text here. So in here, we're going to do some, so we're pretty much going to just grab the ID from the HTML here. So we have article content. So we can just simply say document.query selector article content dot inner HTML is equal to data index 0. We just want the first index of the JSON response data. And then what we're going to do next is document.query selector. We're going to remove the loading container. So we're going to do loading container dot style dot display is equal to none. Okay, so it's a little too fast. So let's do one thing. Let's use set timeout and have a function, and let's wait like 2 seconds so you guys can see. Put the fetch in here. Okay, so now we wait 2 seconds and then we get the data. So let me show you how it works with the other animations. Let's do the 3 dots. So we have the 3 dots animation, and perfect. And I'll show you the last one, the loading bar animation. Have the animation going and got the data. So that's it, guys. I just wanted to show you 3 different ways to use animations and how we would use them, in a real application while waiting for some data. I hope you guys found this video useful, and you may have learned something new. If you did, if you could like or subscribe, I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.